and this is a paper 2 from the Eastern Cape province. So in terms of our instructions and information, we've got section A, section B, and section C. Section A is compulsory, which means we have to answer all the questions on section A. Section B has got 3 questions and we answer 2 questions. Section C consists of 2 questions and we have to answer 1 question on that section. So going down, you see that we have a breakdown in terms of the questions that we have in the question paper. On item 6. So with that, I will move on to the first part of our question paper, that is our section A. So section A, about which section, which one of the following is the importance of goal setting? So according to the responses, the most appropriate is B, which is enrich yourself, never stop learning. So we have B as the correct answer. So number 2, this form of ownership is capable of raising capital by issuing shares to the public. And of course, we can see that the correct that we have is Kia Motors Limited, which represents a public limited company, which obviously issues shares to the public. So we've got A. Or number 3, a way in which an employee can project a professional image is 2. So we'll see that with the responses given, the correct one that we have is B. We have to speak politely. So we have B as the correct answer. Then move on to number 4. Which one of the following is not a requirement for a valid contract? So within that context, we see that which one is not a requirement for a valid contract? A person must be at least 16 years of age. So we see that person must be above 16 years of age. So it means this C is the one that is the odd one out. So we have on the next part, we have got number 5. The best analysis tool used for the challenges of the macro environment is. So we check that in terms of the macro environment. So of course, the one that consists of the macro environment is the pastel. Is the pastel. The pastel is the one that consists of every of elements that we have in the macro environment. So basically, that's what we have. So you'd see that the pastel is a strategic planning framework used to identify and analyze external factors that can impact an organization. So we see that, of course, the PESTEL stands for political, economical, social, technological, also we've got legal and environmental. So those are the abbreviations that we have. So that makes it analyzed in terms of the macro environment. So we'll go to the next part, which is now 1.2. Of course, you have to complete the following statements by using the words provided in the list below. So the first question is information in the form of a dash is an example of a non-verbal presentation. So a non-verbal presentation, of course, with the responses that we have, you'll see that the written report is a non-verbal, which we are using on this part. So this is our 1.2.1. Then their own okay, on 1.2.2 is Theron. I used a dash process to identify strategies that will bring about change. So according to our response, you see that obviously the one that identifies strategies that will bring about change will be, according to the response that we have got problem solving. Problem solving is the most appropriate, which we have on 1.2.2. Then moving on to 1.2.3, A or N is a dash is a person or business renting a property. So that we have got at obvious. This one is a tenant. I will be renting. So we check if we've got tenant in our response. We've got tenant on this part. So this one is the correct one, which is 1.2.3. So of course, we move on to the next part of our question, which is now 1.2.4. The dash is the benefit of corporate existence and perpetual succession. So we check again in terms of our responses. You see that According to what we have, we see that combined with a personal liability, which we are having on this part. So this one is the correct response that we have, which is combined with personal liability. So represents 1.2.4. Then 1.2.5, the process of an obligation at contribute for the individuals and organization is known as the process of an obligation to contribute for the individuals and organizations is known as. So this is a social responsibility, which we are having on this part. So we put 1.2.5 on that one. Then 1.3, we choose a description from column B that matches a term in column A. So the first one that we have is a prejudice. Of course, with the responses given, we see that the most appropriate that we have is G, forming an opinion of a team member before considering all the facts. So we have G as the correct match that we have. And moving on to stress, we'll check again which one. So we have E as the most appropriate is the body reacting to situations that a person finds are difficult to control. So E is the most appropriate. Then marketing plan. Market plan, if you go to D, is a description of the market analysis, including target market. So we have D. Weaknesses, it's inadequacies or inabilities of a person. So we have A. Then a research protocol. So on research protocol, if we go down, we have got J. Are the rules that you must follow when doing research in order to be ethical and professional. So we have J. There's the correct response. So with that, you see that this is what we have in terms of section A, and you see that our section A has got a total of 30 marks. So with that, we move on to the next part, which is now our question 2. Of course, this is our section B. So with that, we go to the first part of the question, and see that the question 2 is on business ventures. So the first question, list 5 entrepreneurial qualities. So you'll see that we've got various entrepreneurial qualities that can include passion is one of them, high level of energy is one of them, obviously high degree of commitment also being part of that, flexibility being part of that. So we have them as listed in our other section as we have those qualities, desire for responsibility, risk taker, perseverance, passion, organizational skills, high level of energy, good management and leadership skills, high degree of commitment, flexibility, confidence in one's ability to succeed. So that is what we have. On the next part, read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. We are given a scenario of Zizo, a swimwear design. So basically, this is what we have. So you have to go through the scenario, and then you go to the questions. The first question, read the 32 research instruments that can be used by ZSD to collect data. So the question requires you to come up with research instruments. Of course, observation is a research instrument. Experimenting is also a research instrument. So you can include those. Of course, according to other section, you've got an interview as a research instrument, surveys, group research, observation, experimenting. Then on the next question, describe entry protocols for conducting research. What are the protocols of research conducting a research? Obviously, one of them is that of time and place, which obviously you should agree on with obviously with the organization. So one of the protocols is mentioned. So we've got further protocols that we have on other sections. So we've got a list of them. So in terms of the first 3 that we have, the research should be conducted with the willing cooperation of participants only. If research is taking place within the organization, it must be approved first. A time and place must be agreed upon with the organization. The person conducting research should not try to influence the opinion of the participants. Participants should be free to refuse to answer a particular question. So further points we also have in that context in terms of our question. Then from there, we move on to the next question. That is going to be 2.2.3. Combine a SWOT analysis to determine the viability of ZSD business. Of course, SWOT analysis, we've got S being strength, W for weaknesses, O for opportunities, T for threats. So, of course, we are going back to the scenario and try to conduct a SWOT analysis. So, with that, we can try by identifying where we have our strength as our S. So, if we go through. If you go there, you see that in terms of the strength, we have it as mentioned on the sentence. She sells affordable swimwear suits. So that's a strength of the business that are there. Their products are affordable, so it becomes a strength. And then we also check here where it reads. We check also if we have anywhere where you have a strength that is coming up. On the next sentence, she also has a degree in business management. So the degree is the strength of the business. There is someone who is well qualified, so it becomes a strength. So typically, those are the strengths that you can come up with. Of course, SWOT analysis, we also have and weaknesses. Where do we have weaknesses? Of course, we check in terms of information that we have. So coming with this part, you see that it reads, Zizo has employed same a new cashier with no experience. That's a weakness. And also same treats customers and professional. That's a weakness. So we've got a weakness as identified. For weaknesses, go to opportunities. Where do we have opportunities? We'll check in terms of the information that we have. So we check on this part the demand for products is increased. So increase in demand is an opportunity that can be utilized in the business can earn more revenue. So that one is a opportunity. Then we go to threats. What are the threats that we have? So you see that if come use that there is a regular increase in fuel price, it's a threat because this is going to lead to high costs, and this high cost can also cascade to cause the prices to go up. And whenever prices go up, demand will go down. It's going to negatively affect the revenue of the business. So that becomes a threat. So within that context now, we see that we have done that the SWOT analysis. So tabulated in terms of the SWOT analysis, we have it in our other section whereby we've got strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So this is what we have according to the scenario that we have. Then moving on to the next part of our question. Which is going to be question 2.3. So of course, 2.3 reads, name 5 types of contracts. So you need to come up with 5 types of contracts, and of course, we've got employment contracts, insurance contracts, lease agreements, hire purchase agreement, rental agreement. Then also on the next question, it requires you to come up with importance of business allocation. So we have got the importance as listed to have access to skilled and unskilled labor. We have access to both the consumers and suppliers to determine business profitability. Businesses, premises are often very costly to rent. Further points we also have in terms of importances of a business location. So on the last question, on question 2, discuss the importance of business reports with 8 marks. So in terms of the importance of business reports, a business report presents data and other information about a business, for specific readers. We've got as the first point. The second importance, a business report makes information available to stakeholders about how the business is doing. Third point, senior management rely on business reports to inform them of what each department is doing. So with that, we see that these are the points that we have. Question three is on business roles. Read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. We are given a scenario of green car manufacturer that we need to go through. So after going through, first question reads, identify two problem-solving techniques used by green car manufacturer. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario above. Of course, in terms of the problem-solving techniques, we try to identify where exactly do we have. If you come on this point, these employees are requested to first generate ideas and then share them with other members. So you see that this represents the nominal group technique. Remember, the explanation of nominal group technique is that it is a structured group and decision-making process that combines individual and group work to ensure everyone's input is heard and, of course, to make decisions quickly. So nominal group technique is the one that we have identified. So we check for the other. Remember, the question requires us to come up with two problem-solving techniques. So in terms of the other, problem-solving technique, we have got on this part whereby it reads the manager is also contacted design experts to complete a questionnaire on how to change the design. So for that part again, you see that we have got a problem-solving technique, which is the Delphi technique. Remember, the Delphi technique is a structured method also for reaching a consensus among a panel of experts. There should be a panel of experts through multiple, and this consensus is reached through multiple rounds of anonymous questionnaire. So with that, we see that this explains the sentence that it is a Delphi technique. It's representing a Delphi technique, is a problem-solving technique. So remember, we are supposed to present our answer as illustrated in the table that we are given. So in terms of our answer section, we have the responses as shown, whereby we've got the nominal group technique and the Delphi technique. Then on the next question, you have to discuss the advantages of creative thinking in the workplace. What are the advantages of creative thinking in the workplace? So you see that these are the advantages of creative thinking that we have. Better or unique or unconventional ideas or solutions are generated as the first advantage, and also may give the business a competitive advantage. Management or employees may keep up with the fast changing technology, which might lead to increased market share. Complex business problems may be solved. So these are the advantages that we have. Of course, we've got further advantages that we have that we also have to take into account. Moving on to question 3.1.3. You have to recommend ways how creative business opportunities can be realistically implemented. So, in terms of realistically implementing those creative business opportunities, we have a list of points that we have. In the first part, we have to encourage alternative ways of working or doing things. Encourage staff to come up with new ideas or opinions or solutions. Respond enthusiastically to all ideas and never let anyone feel less important. Place suggestion boxes around the workplace and keep communication channels open for new ideas. So these are the points that we have. And of course, we have the points that we have that are also correct. So I'm moving on to our next question, which is going to be our question 3.2. You have to outline initiatives that businesses can take to address socio-economic issues. So, in terms of addressing those socio-economic issues, so those are socio-economic issues. There are problems that stem from the intersection of social and economic factors. So that it includes issues like poverty, unemployment and inequality is also part of socio-economic issues. So they negatively impact communities, and obviously they also negatively impact businesses. So these issues can include access to quality education, healthcare also is part of that. Access to quality education, of course, and we have also high crime rates and political instability. Also, they fall under socio-economic issues. So, in terms of outlining the initiatives that business can take to address socio-economic issues, we have various points that we can include providing quality goods goods and services to people, ensuring that the production process has no negative impact on the environment, sponsor equipment and products going to non-profit organizations and other needy groups, assist with the development of infrastructure such as building health clinics and schools, and also we have got sponsor education material. So those are some of the points that we can include. Of course, we've got further points that we have that we can also include. So we'll go on to our next question, which is now 3.3. Identify the self-management concept represented by each of the following statements. So we have to identify the self-management concept. So basically, looking at self-management concept, it is the ability to regulate your thoughts, emotions, and also regulate your behaviors to achieve personal and professional goals. So you'd see that self-management, it involves taking responsibility for your own performance, managing your stress, staying organized, and adapting to new circumstances. So all those constitute self-management concept. So in terms of the first part, when you start seeing your worth, you find it harder to stay around people who do not. Would see that this represents, in terms of the first part that we have, it represents self-confidence. So we have self-confidence on this first part. Then at 3.3.2, Cisco has always believed that to develop oneself, you need to know your strength and your weaknesses. So you'd say that this is self-knowledge that we have for 3.3.2. Then we move on to 3.3.3. When Netlim Limited employees were told about the change in management, they remained calm and positive. So you'd see that this is adaptability in 3.3.3. So we have those as I mentioned in our other section, whereby we have got self-confidence, self-knowledge, and adaptability. So moving on to the next part now, 3.4, explain the importance of recognizing one's strength and weaknesses. What is the importance of recognizing one's strengths and weaknesses? So we'd say that the importance that we can come up with is help you to understand weaknesses in order to manage them properly. So you can manage your weaknesses properly, and then help to explore your interests, which could open up new careers and opportunities. Help you uncover your hidden talents that you might otherwise not have discovered. Help you use your strength to the best of your ability to advance your career. And these are the responses that we have in terms of 3.4, which is the last part that we have in terms of our question at 3. So looking at question 4, which is on business ventures, you have to identify the 7 P's of the marketing mix of the given segment. So you see that the marketing mix, basically, it's a combination of factors that can be controlled by a company to influence consumers to purchase its products. So that is the description of the marketing mix. So in terms of the first part, whereby we have got the amount of money that must be that must be paid by the consumers to acquire goods or services. So you see that this is the price. And of course, we've got the location where goods or services are sold. So of course, this is the place. And the way in which the marketing and sales processes are carried out, of course, this is a promotion. We have a promotion of that part. So with that, we move on to the next part of our question, which is now going to be our 4.2. So question 4.2, you have to outline three types of legal requirements for a business. So you see that these are the legal requirements that we have. Companies must register with the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission. A business needs to be registered before it can obtain finance or start doing a transaction. Business also need to register as VAT vendors. All businesses with employees need to register their employees at SARS for payee, which is of course pay as you earn. So further points we also have that are also correct. And moving on to the next part of our question, we are now on at 4.3, differentiate between profits and non-profit organizations. So of course, profit making, they are businesses and their main objective is to make profit. In other words, they at the end of the day, they want the revenue to be greater than the expenses that they incur, so that they make profit. Whereby non-profit, they have no objective of making a profit, but basically a service delivery. So we have those differences is highlighted, whereby the first one, other profit organization aim to make profit, whereby non-profit organization aim not to make profit. Then we've got a second difference. Profit organizations rely on investors to put money into the business, whereby non-profit organizations rely on public contributions, which is donations. And then we also have further differences that we have between the two. And on the next question that we have is now on business roles. You have to read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. You're given a scenario, employees are under a lot of pressure to perform. Getting time management is very important so as to be able to lead a balanced lifestyle. So first part, define the meaning of time management. Well, time management basically is the ability to use time effectively or to use time productively. So basically, this is efficient working. So this is time management. So within that context, we have our description of time management that we have in terms of our other section, whereby it is the ability to use time appropriately when managing and completing tasks. And we've got an alternative description of time management that we have. Then in terms of the next question, outline the ways in which people can live a successful and balanced lifestyle. How ways in which people can live a successful and balanced lifestyle. So we see that these are the ways that we have physical, get enough exercise and rest, and maintain a healthy, balanced diet. And then mentally, you have to plan your day and activity to avoid unnecessary stress. Spiritual, making time every day for any religion you practice. So these are the points that we have. And on the next part, 4.5, we have got steps in the problems are solving cycle. So in terms of the question, it means the list the steps of the problem solving cycle. And of course, these are the steps that we have. Identify the problem, define the problem, formulate a strategy, implement the strategy, allocate the resources, monitor the problem solving, evaluate the problem. So this is what we have in terms of 4.5. Then moving on to 4.6, we have to discuss how business can use the following problem-solving techniques to identify innovative and entrepreneurial business opportunities. We've got mind mapping and brainstorming. So you would see that mind mapping basically is a visual brainstorming technique that organizes information around a central topic. So that is mind mapping, which is a brainstorming technique. Then of course we also have brainstorming. So brainstorming basically is a creative technique for generating a large number of ideas to solve a problem or explore a topic without immediate judgment. So basically it encourages free thinking and can be done by individuals or groups to promote innovation and a new perspective. So you see that the process of brainstorming involves generating a quantity of ideas first, followed by refining and selecting the best ones later. So that is the explanation on brainstorming. So in terms of our question, it requires us to discuss how business can use the following problem-solving techniques to identify innovative and entrepreneurial business opportunities. So in response to that, in terms of mind mapping, mind maps are used for planning. Mind maps are used for planning is the first one. The second one, mind maps are diagrams that represent an idea or a concept. Their strength is that they present how our thinking works. So mind maps are useful for generating new ideas to use in problem solving. So of course, that's the further point. And of course, we also have brainstorming. So this is what we have in terms of brainstorming. So this is our section C, and our question 5 is on business ventures, forms of ownership and presentation of business information. So of course, this is an essay question. So you're given a scenario that you are given in terms of our question, and then on the requirement of the essay, the reference to the above statement answer the following. First part of the explain factors that must be considered when choosing the form of ownership. That is our first part. And then if we check in terms of the second part, differentiate between private company and public company, and then also discuss guidelines on writing an effective business report. So on the additional part, advise the business on the advantages of using graphs or diagrams and symbols or pictures. So this is our issue. Of course, we are supposed to start with our introduction. So in terms of the typical introduction that we can come up with, this is a typical introduction that you can come up with within the context of our essay question. Then moving on to the second part of our essay, you go through factors to be considered when choosing the form of ownership. So these are the factors. We've got capital, division of profits, we've got also capacity. We also have tax implications, management, legislation, or legal requirements. So moving on to the next part, we have to differentiate between private and public company, whereby we have differences is tabulated. So moving on to the next part, guidelines on writing an effective business report. So these are the guidelines on writing an effective business report. Then on the next part, advantages of using graphs or diagrams and symbols or pictures. Advantages of a graph or diagram. We also have them as mentioned. Then advantages of symbols or pictures. And then lastly, we end our essay with a conclusion. Moving on to question 6, business roles, in brackets, relationships, and team up performance. So we've got information that we're given of building a high performance team that we've gone through before the requirements of the essay. So on the requirements of the essay, you have to support the above statement and write an essay in which you include the following aspects: elaborate on the meaning of business objectives, discuss the benefits of teamwork, outline the following criteria for successful team performance. We've got clear objectives and agreed goals. We've got mutual respect, support, and trust, openness, interpersonal attitude and behavior. We also have on the additional part that is recommend ways in which businesses can address factors that influence team and relationships. So, of course, we're going to start with our introduction. So, typical introduction that we can come up with is on 6.1. Then after that, we go to the main part whereby we start with the meaning of business objectives. Then we move on to benefits or advantages of teamwork. Then moving on the criteria for successful team performance, we have got clear objectives and agreed goals, mutual respect, support, and trust. We also have openness, interpersonal attitude, and behavior. So with that, we now move on to the additional part whereby we've got ways in which businesses can address factors that influence team and relationship. Treat all workers with dignity and respect, promote personal beliefs that embrace diversity, generate a culture of diversity that allows innovation and problem solving. So these are some of the points that we can include on the additional part. And on the last part of our essay, we end with our conclusion.